Hey guys, welcome back to the show in the Saturday edition of the Mike Glover Show. I wanted to update you guys on a couple of stories that I've read, and also this situation in Texas where now 27 people are confirmed dead and 20 girls from one camp of 700 girls are still missing. A tragic circumstance in the area that I used to live in, Hill Country. Tragic situation, but I want to talk about that. And also this local story that I read about last night while I was listening to fireworks go off in the background. I hope you had a happy 4th of July. I hope you celebrated with family, friends, and loved ones, your kids, and I hope you popped off as many fireworks as possible. I don't know what it is about the 4th of July, but it does elicit more feelings about my experience in service than any other holiday, more so than Veterans Day, more so than Memorial Day. I don't know why. How do you guys feel about it? I'm not one of those guys who's like, there are guys with PTSD and fireworks brings back bad memories. We shouldn't have fireworks. I'm not that guy because fireworks don't bother me, but they do remind me of war. And it does trigger memories that aren't necessarily bad. But I think about teammates, including Master Sergeant Ben Bittner, who I served with, who was killed in combat, tragically lost his life leading his men in Afghanistan, that I named my son after, who's a legend, born on the 4th of July. Benjamin Franklin Bittner. How fitting. And I think about him, I think about some other teammates, and I shared some feels on my Patreon, the uncensored version of this show, because I talked about him and that feeling that I get, that weight that I feel. And again, it's not post-traumatic stress. It's more triggers and memories, good memories, often good memories about those guys that I serve with. And I was just floating through current events on my Newsbreak app on my phone, and I picked up this local story from a publisher called Townlift, written by a journalist named Marina Knight. Here, I'll put it up right here. That said, local Army veterans' dangerous I-80 standoff was foretold and ignored. And it's the reason I'm doing this show today, because I feel compelled. As I was reading through this story, I'm like, oh, wait, this is Heber City. This is like my own backyard. And it's a very small town. I mean, 17, 18,000 people. Oh, he's a former SF guy. He's a former Green Beret. Do I know him? I don't know him. But as I read through this, there's a whole bunch of disappointing factors about his circumstance, my own physical ailments in the VA system, and really the disappointment I have for the administration. When it comes to supporting veterans and their service. Now, they're likely doing something about it. I have not seen, if you guys have seen it, then I am wrong about it, but I haven't seen the administration. I haven't seen politicians. I haven't seen local senators, Curtis or Lee, local congressmen and women talk about these issues, fixing the broken VA system. What I have seen is reductions in the workforce in VA, which they probably need to trim the fat, but they also need to optimize and pump resources into the system to help veterans like this guy, like Eric. Now, I'm going to read you through this article, but not the entire thing, talk about my specific circumstances and why I'm so disappointed in Utah, in Wasatch County. Let's start off there. Heber City, Utah, our nation, and how we're treating our veterans, especially with men like Eric who have served honorably. So a little bit about Eric. He's a decorated Green Beret, Bronze Star recipient, and this is on the article, which I'll link down below. He's got 5 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. Holmes was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, and the worst component to this is drug addiction. His wife has experienced this alongside him, which includes suicide attempts, psychotic breaks, and methamphetamine use, which is the most brutal component to this, because once you go down that road, it's really hard to recover. So his wife said he had a death wish for months. That day was a suicide mission. Now, I don't know Eric. I don't recognize him, but I wish I could talk to him. I wish I can get permission. In fact, I thought about this, but I'm going to reach out to the sheriff. I'd love to have the permission to go talk to Eric in his jail cell, because the most horrifying component to this is Eric's wife and Eric himself was trying to get help from the VA system and was not given the help he needed. In fact, he was deferred multiple times over. And now, like right now, according to this article, I don't know if it's true, I haven't confirmed it, but it says, according to this article, a situation happened on June 2nd, and this was written a day ago, and he's currently in solitary confinement. Because, you know, when you have a career 20-plus year veteran who has been trying to get help from the VA system for mental health issues, whose wife has been advocating for him to get this help, who's been complaining to the system, to the state, to the local officials, to the police department and the sheriff's department, the best thing you could do to help this guy is put him in solitary confinement. Yeah, there you go. And this isn't inclusive to just one demographic of veterans who suffer from post-traumatic stress. It happens to be anybody who suffers from mental health issues. The answer is they're a danger to themselves. So just stuff them in a cell with a hole in the ground until they drive themselves crazy, and strip them naked if they think they're going to do something dangerous to themselves. That's the answer here, because that's how we treat our veterans. And I say that facetiously and sarcastically because it's effing disgusting what we're doing to our veterans. It's effing disgusting. Not as a veteran, but just as a human being who's advocating for veterans, it's disgusting. So on June 2nd, Monday morning, his wife, speaking on observing this circumstance in Timber Lakes Estates, which I could see the neighborhood from here, had a mental health spiral, sped off in his truck with an attached boat. The trailer disconnected, and long story short, the authorities stop him and they put him in jail on multiple felonies. He's had a long list of criminal behavior since he's had the diagnosis and had major issues that he's gone to VA about. Getting to the meat and potatoes of this, Wednesday, June 11th, a 4th District Judge, Jennifer Mabee, allowed for him to be transferred to a treatment facility in Midway, which is a town that I could see literally from the seat that I'm sitting in, a town that I could see, to get treatment at a facility that specializes in trauma and substance abuse. And he was provided an ankle monitor to begin a continuum of care he had arguably needed for months. Except, and this was denied previously. So good job to the judge, Jennifer Mabee, who allowed this, because this decision came after a previous decision to deny deny Eric a mental health evaluation after being arrested. And a letter written to Mabee and sent to Heber's District Court on May 14th, his wife, Eric's wife, described his behavior. And she said, in the weeks that followed, Frederick Holmes threatened to take his own life. Eric threatened to take his own life and repeatedly asked me to take it from him. I, the victim who advocated for his mental health intervention, tried to prevent the suicide attempt, was seriously injured in the process. This outcome was not only tragic, it was preventable. This is his wife talking. Townlift learned Eric was dismissed from Chateau Recovery less than 24 hours after being admitted for using offensive language. So he was dismissed from a recovery center who's taking an inpatient care, a former 20-year Green Beret who's been to combat 5 different times, who's been diagnosed, who has not only been diagnosed, but is advocating for himself. His wife is advocating for himself and saying they need treatment. He needs treatment, and they kick him out of the recovery center because he used offensive language. He was sent back to jail, and last week, after a hearing on June 25th, Judge Mabee agreed that he could be transferred to Salt Lake City Behavioral Health. That treatment facility also sent him back to the Wasatch County Jail for what they termed as misconduct. That's all they said. So he's back. And Holmes currently awaits another hearing next week. This is current, next week, and he's being held in solitary confinement in the Wasatch County Jail, which I could see from here. Shame on Wasatch County, shame on the state of Utah, and shame on this country for not recognizing a failed system that's not supporting its veterans. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed as a veteran. I'm ashamed as somebody who advocated for the administration that we're not doing enough for these men and women who are suffering and taking their own lives for what we asked them to do. So we can have all the political theatrics over Afghanistan, the pullout, all of the politics surrounding that, but we're not taking care of one of the veterans that are coming out of these wars because it's not a priority. It's not a priority. The Alcatraz federal facility alligator shit show in Florida is more of a priority than helping our veterans. I haven't heard one administrative member, one politician, one local congressman, or it's mostly men, I think it's all men in Utah, or one local senator from Curtis or Lee advocate for veterans' rights at all since I've been here in Utah. I haven't heard one advocate for veterans' rights, veterans' treatments, or the broken Veterans Affairs system. You know what I have seen? A reduction in the workforce. Sure, maybe they need to trim the fat. I get it. You need to trim the fat. Fraud, waste, and abuse, I get it. But what kind of resources, what kind of policy changes, what kind of advocation are we doing for these veterans that are suffering? Townlift learned Eric was dismissed, and the deeper tragedy here is that his wife has seen a systemic failure of the VA to provide timely and adequate care for a man suffering from post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury, along with years of psychological trauma and criminal justice system ill-equipped to deal with veterans in crisis. From the article, before this in May, Eric went to Salt Lake City. His wife said, he told them, I'm desperate. He went to the VA system and said, I'm desperate. This is his words verbatim. I'm desperate. I'm self-medicating. I need help before I destroy my family. And they told him to come back in June. Yeah, they told him, like many people in this country in the broken healthcare system, yeah, your healthcare has been denied. Or come back in June when we can get to you. I don't even want to share my own experiences and the physical ailments I've been dealing with because it doesn't even compare to what this man has gone through, what his family has gone through. As he sits in a hole in solitary confinement, likely stripped naked of everything because they don't want him to hurt himself, and they care so much about his mental health and well-being, they just put him in a hole with like no solutions because he's just a criminal. To Wasatch County and the local sheriff, they just look at him, he's a criminal. That's what he is. He's a liability to the community, and he gets no help. So that was months ago. Since then, he spiraled, despite multiple requests from family, from attorneys, and even from jail personnel in Wasatch County after his first arrest. They're literally advocating him from jail because they're like, this dude's a Green Beret. He's squared away. What are we doing to him? And VA had not approved a referral for inpatient behavioral care. It came months later on June 11th, a week and some change too late because he was arrested on June 2nd. This is frustrating to say the least, guys. It's frustrating to say the least. In my own circumstance, in my own situation, I got denied a surgery to get treatment for chronic back pain because I've had 3 back-to-back surgeries, back-to-back. C5 through 7 and L5S1, I had 2 back-to-back surgeries. 3 surgeries total. And they told me my surgery request for getting a implant, a spinal cord implant, was denied because they wouldn't pay for it because I lived within a 1-hour range to the local VA clinic in Salt Lake City, which is a disaster. I mean, not even according to me, according to every person I talk to who works at a VA that apologizes to me and says, I'm sorry, man, we're really not doing well. We apologize for this. I got deferred because I live 58 minutes away from that clinic. And in order to get outside care for specialty type services to include spinal issues, which is neurosurgery, I couldn't get it because I'm 58 minutes, 2 minutes short of that requirement. So what did they tell me? To make a long story short, they told me to get in line. I had a April 6th surgery date booked, and they told me they wouldn't pay for it. I went back and they said, we'll see you in 2 months for a consult. I was in a clinic for 5 minutes and they told me that they will book me for a surgery consult in 2 more months. And then I said, look, straight up, PA, tell me what's going on. Physician's assistant, tell me what's going on and when am I going to get this treated? And he said, it's likely going to be over a year to get surgery on my back with chronic pain. And I said, so what do I do in the meantime? Because you're telling me you're a chronic pain specialist, but you're not offering me any solutions. He said, the best advice I have for you is go to the ER. Go to the ER to get treatment. Go to the emergency room, have them manage your pain because we can't do it for you. I apologize. We'll get to you when we get to you. That's the VA system for you. Yeah. Thanks for that. So lastly on this, here's a picture of Eric and his wife. It says that according to his wife, the VA's failures stretch across multiple states, including Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Utah, where they repeated the same thing to get treatment, were denied, were delayed, and they had bureaucratic red tape. In October of 2022, the Green Beret Foundation helped Eric get court-ordered treatment at Warrior's Heart, which you guys know. Tom Spooner, a good friend of mine, started Warrior's Heart, co-founded it, and I've raised money for Warrior's Heart, which I'll leave the links to Warrior's Heart Foundation and the links down below. We've raised money for scholarships for people who don't have the insurance because it's inpatient, comprehensive care. It's not just you go hunting in the woods and drink some whiskey in a cabin kind of care, because a lot of nonprofits do that. I've experienced that firsthand, and it's no bueno. We're talking about comprehensive inpatient care, especially with those dealing with addiction issues. When the center later required a clean drug test before re-entry, he was deemed ineligible because he's on drugs. Despite having a diagnosed addiction and a confirmed TBI from a facility in North Carolina, his probation was revoked and a warrant issued for his arrest. In 2023, after an attempted suicide, the couple sought a VA referral to the Ranch, a mental health facility in Tennessee. No referral came, and the same happened in February of 24 when his mental health crisis ended in jail time, not treatment. Eric had an outburst in court, which was further proof of a man in psychological distress, not defiance. And you know what kind of help he got? None. Zero. She was also called on a Senate Committee on Veteran Affairs, urging attention to what she termed clear and ongoing failure of both the VA and the legal system. I'll tell you this, because of my own circumstance in court, my special forces background was used against me. Every single aspect of my life prior to now has been used against me, and they used the word special forces in testimony in court because of my profession. Holmes' family had served this country at a high cost. Eric's family stretches back 8 generations, including in the Revolutionary War, all the way up into the global war on terror. He deserves treatment and honor, not punishment. His wife said, we're not asking for special treatment. We are begging for timely, humane, evidence-based care. We see how Wasatch County's addressed that by putting her husband in solitary confinement. A freaking hero who served this country is in solitary confinement. This isn't a crazy man. This is a man in crisis, and the country he fought for has turned its back on him. What say you on this particular circumstance? Have you experienced this as a veteran? Do you know somebody who has? Leave me your feedback in the comments down below. Lastly, I wanted to mention about this because I'm going to talk about it in the underground and how you could prevent this. Along the Guadalupe River in Hill Country in Texas, it went from 6 to 7 feet to 26 to 29 feet in a span of about 6 hours. via this system that's spiraling and dumping rain in Texas. The tragedy here with this specific circumstance is there are many campsites along that river. I know it very well because I used to live in that area. There was a camp, I think it's called Summit, that had 700 girls at the campsite, and it swept away. What we now know is 20 different girls are missing from that campsite. They're missing people from all over the campsites, and it's now confirmed 27 have been found deceased, confirmed dead. That number is going to rise exponentially. Governor Abbott has already sworn a lot of assets and resources, whatever it takes, in order to care for the people who are dealing with this tragedy. Our thoughts and prayers go out to them. I'll talk about solutions and things that you could do to avoid this catastrophe in the underground. Lastly, on this VA circumstance, there's a lot of advocates, including Governor Abbott, who are talking about, I mean, he just vetoed this circumstance where they were trying to ban THC. And he did so because he's a proponent and an advocate for veterans that are trying to get treatment, alternative treatment, outside the system to get alternative care, including Ibogaine and using CBD, which has helped me profoundly. CBD has helped me get better sleep. It's why I started a CBD company called the Wolf 21. Now, I am scheduled to get Ibogaine later this year. This is something that I think Eric would benefit from, but we have to advocate for our veterans. I'm going to leave, if you're local, I'm going to leave the points of contact information for the local representatives in the district, in the area, in the state, down in the description below, and also for the VA. Please, I don't care who you are, if you're somebody who's been affected by this, somebody who cares about veteran services and the services they're not getting, and you want to be a proponent for change, please reach out to these points of contact. I'll clearly state it down below in the description. Reach out to them and tell them that you're not happy with this, that you want to see change, and our veterans deserve better, which they do. Guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys who are listening to me. Thank you for all you guys' service. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel, and I'm headed off to the underground. Till next time. Peace out, guys.